Yeah, Edward Hutchins, Atlas Society. Can you expound a little bit? I know you have a chapter on selfishness. Specifically this, as you know, the objectivist view is that acting in your rational self-interest requires not just doing anything you want. There's a focus on achievement, whether you're nurturing a child to maturity or a business to profitability, that this calls on all of the higher values, rationality, productivity, honesty, independence, so on and so forth. That this form of selfishness is a good thing, it's an ennobling thing, it's a pro-human thing, and that part of that is going to be your relationship to other people. That is, family and friends who are of value to you, and you would treat them in a way that from the outside might say, oh, you're being altruistic because you're sacrificing for your wife and family, where in fact, no, you love your wife and family.
So part of the the chapter on selfishness really gets to what is Ayn Rand's definition of selfishness, and then what is, sort of tried to say to the Christian reader, you know what? God is selfish, because if he were not God, or if he did not esteem himself above all others and put his own glory above all else, then he would not be true to the definition of God, i.e. pursuing one's own, that which, I forget what Aquinas said, but you probably remember better than I do. Something very lofty and yet true. The contemporary of Ayn Rand's that I use to compare is C.S. Lewis, where C.S. Lewis has this wonderful analogy that says, we settle for something less than the highest possible occupation of our soul, and he uses that word. Ayn Rand might use our mind, will, and emotions. We are like children in the slums making mud pies because we can't imagine a holiday at the beach. We're far too easily pleased. We settle for something less than the ultimate. And so I think that where, that was an exhortation to people to embrace Christianity, because they were settling for the other trappings of comfort or whatever it was that was they were looking to for fulfillment. The presumption there is that every person is acting in their own rational self-interest. They just have a different perspective on what that is. Ayn Rand would say, well, it's the individual, it's your own life. And you strive to you focus on the individual and thereby enhance and sustain your own life. C.S. Lewis would have said, no, that's God. But just like Pascal said, every man seeks his own happiness, even those who hang themselves. So, good Christian man, but I don't think he was advocating hanging himself. I think he was advocating that we all seek our own rational self-interest. The question is, how do we do that? To your point, Ed, too, about it's not anything goes to support your own life at the expense of another's. There are these principles of morality that Ayn Rand arrives at by reason that she says those are constraints of reality and nothing more. We need to operate within them because we are human beings and this is how we operate. I think that's probably one of those things that is misunderstood by the Christian community because, and I'll just sort of a little bit of a tangent here, but the Christian community for a long time has been stating an argument for Christianity that is in contrast to relativism, subjectivism. And so all of the apologetics that relate to, sort of having those kinds of debates are geared toward that. And then Ayn Rand comes along and says, no, there's absolute truth, to be sure, just no absolute truth giver. And we don't need that in order to come to this conclusion. The existence of God was sort of off the table. Let's just not even talk about it here. And yet the ethical conclusions coming out of very different foundations are solidly overlapping in huge areas of importance to us today.
This is kind of almost a Thomist view that there's natural law, which, very Aristotelian in Aquinas' view, that says, yes, a good life includes all these things that we're talking about, and a good Christian, and I would say a good secularist, can abide by that. And then there is revealed law, which also tells you about, you might say, an addendum about how to live in heaven, how to get to heaven, plus some other things. It sounds like you're saying there is a lot of overlap right there.
Yeah, there is.